In all likelihood, Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee when our party convention meets in July. I congratulate him and wish him well.
In Iran, women will get arrested, killed, attacked, beat just for showing their hair. To me, that is oppression.
That's not scientific evidence of oppression. The scientific evidence,
Wait, what?
That's factual evidence. It's factual. You don't need to do any scientific study to know that if you go to the Middle East, you may not even live a day just dressed how you are right now. In America, you can walk to a bar alone at night, get drunk, and get home safe. Yes, that's not the safest thing to do, but even the fact that you have the capability of doing that shows that women are free and not oppressed. And you can be a full-time worker your entire life, work a 9 to 5. You're going to college, you're studying. There's some countries that still women don't even have those rights fully where they can get an education and work.
That's not scientific evidence of oppression.
Are you retarded?
Tonight on this special episode of How Shit's Made, we'll take a close look at the bearded clam muncher. A strange machine used to annoy the American people and spread left-wing bullshit. For years, this ridiculous machine has been gobbling down bearded clams and fur burgers in our nation's capital. Despised by most Americans, the bearded clam muncher is known for its dishonesty, often attempting to feed massive amounts of nonsense to the mainstream media and the American people. Listen closely to the unique sound produced as this oyster-gargling apparatus gears up in another attempt to persuade Americans that Jackass Joe is a competent leader.
You don't have to go to hell. You're in hell. This is hell. This is hell. This is hell.
Because democracy basically means government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
Then strangled them, and finally dismembered their bodies.
Right.
Then
Available.
and homelessness and all that. And now, the voice you've been waiting for.
There is a secret song at the center of the world, and its sound is like razors through flesh. I'm here to turn up the volume. I'm kind of retarded.
Well, one of the biggest stories of last week wound up being the State of the Union address, what with all the recent talk about cognitive impairment, as if that was some kind of new development. The news coverage on it had ranged from, oh, well, you know, voters have been increasingly concerned with Biden's mental fitness, to the total gaslighting of people like Psycho Joe Scarborough, who said this the day before the speech.
I've said it for years now. He's cogent. But I undersold him when I said he was cogent. He's far beyond cogent. In fact, I think he's better than he's ever been. Intellectually, analytically, because he's been around for 50 years. And, you know, I don't know if people knew this or not. Biden used to be a hothead. Sometimes that Irishman would get in front of the reasoning. Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. This is... And I don't really, you know what, I don't really care. Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever.
You fucking retarded scumbag.
And then you had the White House posting this video of Biden getting tips and pointers from actors who had played the president.
Some of you might know what a big speech like I have to do is coming up State of the Union. Any advice you have for me in delivering my speech?
Well, sir, in my capacity as president, all I had to deal with was a meteor. One of the things that I came out of that with in my speech to people is hope. Hope is the strongest force we have in this country. is the most useful and the most effective. My advice is just keep telling us how you're working for us and building hope.
Well, Mr. President, looking back on my own presidency, I behaved very badly in a lot of situations. In preparation for your speech, it's just there was one sort of piece of advice and that meant a lot to me when I was president. And so I just wanted to share that really quick with you. Tell them that you exist for them. Tell them that they make you a better man. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And also, when I used to give big speeches, I would always wind down with popcorn and red wine. But I know for you that would be ice. Do that with ice cream. I highly encourage it.
I know from experience, obviously, what a tough job it is. And when I was president, it seemed like every week there was some new crisis that I had to face.
You did a hell of a job.
Thank you.
And there is some delicious irony here. I mean, here he is getting advice from people who have also pretended to be the president. But everybody basically agreed that it was very important for him to give a relatively good speech to dispel all those nasty rumors that he's losing his fucking marbles. But also because all of the recent polling for Biden has gone really badly. Whether you're talking about approval ratings, whether or not the country is on the right track or wrong track, to just who are you gonna vote for if the election were today. None of it is positive for Biden. I don't know how many of you actually watched it, or what your reasons were for watching it. I suspect for many people it was the same reason that you watch a NASCAR race. You're hoping you get to see some fiery car crash live, so the prospect that something really awful could happen and the civilized world gasps while we laugh. But with the recent string of blunders that his people have been having lately, it seemed like a real possibility that somebody might accidentally get his talking pills mixed up with a placebo. But unfortunately, it wound up being basically what was expected. He stumbled on his words probably about 100 and some odd times.
Because I invested in family farms led by my Secretary of Agriculture, who knows more about this than anybody I know.
Which for him is actually pretty good. I mean, you're talking about over an hour and a half long speaking, so it's like one little goof up a minute. That's actually pretty good for his standards. And then he ended up setting off one of the fathers of the Marines killed during his FUBAR Afghanistan withdrawal.
All Americans deserve the freedom to be safe. And America is safer today than when I took office. The year before I took office, murder rates went up 30%. 30% they went up. The biggest increase in history. It was then, through my American Rescue Plan, which every American voted against, I might add.
And did you catch the part at the end? Apparently this guy derailed his train of thought a little bit.
My American Rescue Plan, which every American voted against, I might add.
And while he was on his way in, MTG had given him a pin with Laken Riley's name on it. And then like 40 minutes into the speech, when he finally started talking about the border, she started jeering him and got him to actually, well, almost say her name.
It's not about him. It's not about me. I'd be a winner. Not really. Lincoln Riley.
And this was a little triple fuck up. It all happened so quick, but first he called her Lincoln Riley instead of Laken Riley, and then he used a naughty word.
Lincoln Riley, an innocent young woman who was killed by an illegal.
And then he mumbled some shit about, but how many other Americans have been killed by illegal aliens?
That's right. But how many of the thousands of people being killed by illegals?
I think what he was actually trying to get out there was, well, how many of the thousands of Americans that get killed every year are killed by illegals? Which is actually like hundreds, but it completely came out all wrong. And it sounded like he was saying, yeah, she got killed by an illegal, but so what? Thousands of Americans get killed by illegals. Oh, the whole thing was a total shit show. And you really have to kind of watch it with your sense of gallows humor turned up. And be able to laugh at things like Bernie Sanders sitting there fine not wearing a mask until the speech started, and then he had his mask on the whole time. But beforehand, he was sitting there laughing and joking with his mask off. What a moron. But hey, at least it looks like this time he styled his hair with a comb instead of a Tesla coil. And then there was this half-wit Alabama senator that gave the Republican response. For me, this was even harder to watch than Biden's speech. I actually had to turn this shit off halfway through.
Mr. President, enough is enough. Innocent Americans are dying, and you only have yourself to blame. Fulfill your oath of office, reverse your policies, end this crisis, and stop the suffering.
It's like she's simultaneously trying to channel the Ukrainian spokes weirdo.
Next week, the teeth of the Russian devils will gnash ever harder, and their rabid mouths will foam in uncontrollable frenzy.
And that crybaby from the Washington Post.
It's horrifying. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm deranged and psychotic, but I'm also about to burst into tears. I mean, did she actually rehearse this with other people around? And nobody said anything? How the fuck did she get picked anyway? This is why Republicans lose. Why do I get the feeling this was Ronna McDaniel's call? Is this why she said last month that she was going to resign right after Super Tuesday because she knew that that would allow her time to make sure this shitty pick went through? It should have been Rand Paul giving this fucking rebuttal, not this half-wit. She's got all the gravitas of a soiled mattress. And then after the speech, Trump posted this gem onto Truth Social.
We're going to buy American. We're going to buy American. So trade rules. Buy America has been the law since 1933. Also caps and won't even go into effect until 2025. And by the way, that law was written and the benefit expires in 2025. New electric grids that are able to weather major storms and not prevent those forest fires.
But then in rather unfortunate fashion, he also posted this, harping on again about the warp speed horseshit, making sure that he gets credit because God forbid you admit that you were fucking lied to. But then it was heartening to see the comments that people were leaving on that. And this is on his fucking social media site. And this is good. I don't want to be a part of a cult that just goes along with whatever the fuck the God man says. So when they try to act like the MAGA people are a cult and they don't dare criticize them, well, it warms my heart to see yet another example of that being total bullshit. And in some other chuckle-worthy news, Nikki Haley actually dropped out after getting blown out on Super Tuesday.
I am filled with the gratitude for the outpouring of support we've received from all across our great country. But the time has now come to suspend my campaign. I said I wanted Americans to have their voices heard. I have done that. I have no regrets.
Yeah, their voices were heard all right, and they sounded off with a resounding,
"Go fuck yourself."
And she did win Vermont, which was exactly one state more than anybody was expecting. And now that she's racked up just a handful of delegates more than any of the other also-rans, she can just sit back and hope for a plane crash or a heart attack, and then bingo bongo, she's the front runner. I know that sounds far-fetched, but weirder shit has happened. Oh, and I also gotta mention this Madonna thing because it's fucking hilarious. She was performing at a concert and noticed that somebody had the audacity to be sitting down.
Rigby, what are you doing sitting down over there? What are you doing sitting down?
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing sitting down?
Oh, okay.
Oh, you're in a wheelchair.
Okay, correct. Sorry about that. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, never mind. And meanwhile, down in my neck of the woods, spring break is in full swing, although Miami Beach is doing their best with this breaking up with spring break campaign.
Hey, we need to talk.
This isn't working anymore.
And it's not us. It's you. We just want different things.
Our idea of a good time is relaxing on the beach.
Hitting up a spa. Or checking out a new restaurant.
You just want to get drunk in public and ignore laws.
Do you even remember what happened last March? That was our breaking point, so we're breaking up with you.
And don't try to apologize and come crawling back. This isn't safe, so we're done.
And just so you know, we're serious.
This March, you can expect things like curfews, bag checks, and restricted beach access.
DUI checkpoints, $100 parking, and strong police enforcement for drug possession and violence.
Whatever it takes, because it's time to move on.
Maybe we can talk when you're done with your spring break phase, but until then.
For all this money that these tourists bring in, you'd think they'd be a little more tolerant to some misbehavior. But this is not about frat boys getting drunk and out of hand. But it's not the frat boys that are running around beating and robbing and shooting people. No, that's a certain demographic of more local folks. Of course, they don't want to come out and say that, so they're willing to just wreck the whole goddamn thing. In the past few years, things have gotten so fucked up that most of the local business people down there don't really give a shit. And then up north, you had Governor Kathy Hochul announce that she's going to deploy 750 National Guardsmen to join 250 stateies and MTAs patrolling the subway stations of New York City.
Tonight, Grand Central Terminal swarming with New York State troopers and members of the National Guard. It's part of Governor Hochul's new push to battle crime on the subways.
Yeah, it's been, what, a little over 20 years since there's been National Guard in the NYC subway system like this. In the days following 9/11. And I'm sure this has absolutely nothing to do with the start of Ramadan last night. Right?
No. Yes, but no. But yes.
Well, let's check in and see how things are going in Chicago.
The city of Chicago did not have a single shooting reported yesterday. That's according to CPD. So we did some digging through police data, and since January 1st, 2019, just over 5 years ago, there were just 7 days with 0 people shot. 2 in 2019, 3 in 2020, 1 last year, and then yesterday.
And then
the next day.
To a breaking news update, a violent night in the South Loop as 2 teenagers were shot, one of them fatally. A large group flooded the area near Roosevelt and Canal.
Enough is enough. We need to do something about it, and somebody needs to do something about it fast.
Fed up of a reoccurring thing we've seen time and time again. Teen takeovers in the South Loop.
It looked like hundreds of teenagers. We have security guards here every night. We locked the doors for a couple hours and kept everybody out. From the video footage that I've seen, it looked like hundreds of teenagers or young adults were tearing up the streets.
They're young. Sometimes they make silly decisions. They do. And so we have to make sure that we are investing to make sure that young people know that they are supported.
What the fuck did you just say?
They're young. Sometimes they make silly decisions.
What an asshole!
Authorities say the group, estimated to be 500 teenagers, were drawn to the area after a social media post. Patrick Cahill works at nearby White Palace Grill and witnessed the uproar from beginning to end.
They were walking, they were just shouting occasionally, pounding on windows. The police told us to lock all our doors, just let patrons out, don't let anyone in.
It was a lot of kids just running, everybody trying to get away from the area that they heard it from.
Everybody use caution. These kids are running all through traffic, by cars, through cars, everything.
Oh, you're not aware of some of these large gatherings?
You're talking about the mob actions?
No. That's not appropriate. We're not talking about mob actions. I didn't say that.
What happened?
Okay, hold on a second, okay? Respectfully. These large gatherings.
That cause damage.
These large gatherings, just hold on a second, y'all. I promise you, we have time to talk. It's important that we speak of these dynamics in an appropriate way. This is not to obfuscate what is actually taking place. But we have to be very careful when we use language to describe certain behavior. There's history in this city. I mean, to refer to children as like baby Al Capones is not appropriate.
Shut the fuck up, okay? Shut the fuck up!
It seems like we basically have 3 different types of people in this country right now. Those that think the greatest problem we face is the prospect of Donald Trump getting back into the White House. Then there's those who think that all we have to do is hang in there and get Donald Trump back in the White House. And then there's those of us that look up and know that the election is playing second fiddle to the 100 black swans that we've got circling overhead. And then it's really just a question of which one takes a giant shit on us first, and then how many follow suit. And if that thought makes you lose hope, makes you just want to lurch off and accept the inevitable, well, you probably weren't going to make it anyway. Sláinte.
in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. You understand? So say good night. So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night. So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night. So say good night to the bad guy. So say good night. So say good night to the bad guy. Come on. Come on. Stupid fuck!